Okay.
All right. Welcome to Top 20 Online Music Websites for 2020. My name's Nathan Carr. I'm the Newton Public Library. We've got Sam with us and Randy. Sam, say hi.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
All right. And Randy Pauls is here. He is going to be our professional in the field of music that will help us to try and navigate all the debris that I'm going to be throwing at here.
Hello.
So a lot of my presentations, I have these boilerplate slides that I always do, every single one, just because I think they're important. So even during COVID, there's important reasons why you want to have a public library. I mean, there's physical locations usually within walking distance in most towns. And you've got robust content, which means we've got more than just Google. We've got all sorts of white pages, and we subscribe to services that you don't normally have access to. We've got assistance and training from actual human beings that may be better at interpreting what questions you actually want to ask versus the ones that you would normally type into a search engine. Another boilerplate statement is that please do your Windows updates, your antivirus updates, your spyware updates, your firmware updates, your firewall updates. Do them all before you go online and do anything that may or may not involve your credit card or be traceable by any sort of cookies or anything. So be safe out there, folks. So I've kind of taken, on this program, I started out just by listing some of my favorite music kind of web pages, and then things got complicated because I realized there's certain things, types of websites, you know, certain things you look for in certain types of websites. Some you look for just for downloading music. Some you look for forums where you want to talk about music, databases when you research what artist played when, with who, and where, and you know, places to download for free, places when you pay, places where you share music from one person to another, online music broadcasts where you can watch a concert, especially during COVID, online, and websites where you just make music, right, and record your own and edit it and promote it, and then there's the ticket sales places. And so these are the kind of websites that I've come across, and a lot of times they mix, right? So you might end up with a Billboard magazine that also does forums, that also sells you music and tickets sometimes. And so these are the kind of things that I ran into, and the class got a little complicated, got away from me a little bit. So some things I'm going to throw all the words at you at once and let you go back through later on and read them. And I'll just kind of go over it just a little bit. That way you have a chance to hear Randy's take on it without having to have me read word for word what's on the screen, and go back through and be able to, you know, find that information. So Randy, when it comes to this screen, is there anything you want to highlight real quick?
Other than the live music event, that whole, let me think of the word here. That whole, everybody involved in live music right now is hurting drastically. And I think, I told some friends the other day, I think that we may have seen the end of the live show. That may be a bit of a stretch. I know that a lot of local bands are playing again. But I don't know that you're going to get 16,000 seat arenas full of people again. Not with the way the world is right at this time. In the far future, maybe, but this is going to change things drastically. Ticket prices, if they do come back, I can't imagine them being low. I still haven't got my money back from a show that got canceled. And I think it was Ticketmaster that owes me money.
Like back in May, wasn't it?
Well, it was in May, and then they rebooked it for July, and of course that didn't happen. And I sent my thing in to get money back and still haven't. I've almost written it off, as I may not get my money back, which it's more money so I need to pursue that. But boy, um, it's going to be interesting. I mean,
So
with
like the
events,
opera houses like Sam has in the background, they're going to have to alter because everybody's going to be sitting 6 feet apart for a long time, huh?
well, the thing is, though, I think with events like Sturgis and Man Day here in Kansas, I think that stuff like that happening with very few cases of COVID are encouraging. That gives me hope that live music could happen again, because you got to think this didn't just affect the musicians. This affected all the techs that go along with them, all the people that load and unload trucks. Matter of fact, the guy that set the setup here at the church where I'm at, he unloads and loads bands out at Intrust, and he hasn't had a job since April, May or March, excuse me, when they started canceling stuff. So this has affected a lot of people, all the venue people, all the concession people. It's drastic. It's one of the most heartbreaking things to see on that slide you have there, because I that's where all my money went, is to live shows. So
I'm kind of one of those people that don't like large crowds anyway, and so it didn't really affect me any. But I can see how I got friends on the internet that post things that they're just dying inside because they really really want to go to a concert.
yeah.
It's part of their life and how they identify themselves. They're really missing it.
Well, let me give you an example. Tonight, matter of fact, at 7 o'clock, the band Fit for a King is doing their release party online for their new record. And it's free, but a lot of these bands can't afford to do that free. They're hoping by doing it free, they're going to sell some merchandise. And I saw that their merchandise was, oh my goodness, it was crazy. It had like tour dates for like online, except for it was all just one thing. And so they got to do what they can. They're all hurting. And I think you're going to see, I think you're going to start seeing sites pop up, and maybe Spotify and them will eventually show this stuff. But I think these live concerts are going to be a thing of the future that you're going to start seeing a lot of, like the release concerts and stuff. It's sad, but I don't know that we're going to get away from it. So I'll stop talking now.
Sam, what you got? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really familiar with like the classical side, which is a business too. I happen to like you can see behind me, it may be kind of small. This is the house at the Metropolitan Opera, which is it's the biggest opera house in the United States. And talking about social distancing, I don't think they have to sell like at least 80% of the seats to make it financially doable. They can't play to a 25% crowd like the Kansas City Chiefs are doing this evening. They really need to be. I mean, they're not going to be able to reopen the Opera House, I don't think, until there's no more need for social distancing. So that's kind of. I mean, I think the Met will weather the storm because they are the biggest performing arts organization in the United States. So I'm not worried about them. I'm more worried about your Wichita Grand Opera, your Wichita Symphony, Music Theater Wichita even. But it is really interesting to see what everybody's doing. I know like Opera Omaha, they've actually announced as part of their season a VR opera where, the Oculus Rift headsets, they're actually doing an opera over the virtual reality and asking people to pay like $25 for this virtual reality experience. And my sister's got one of these headsets, so I'm going to try to get her to lend it to me so that I can be a virtual opera goer for Opera Omaha. I think that sounds pretty cool.
Nice.
They're trying to evolve. It sounds like they're really, really trying.
The amount of free stuff that people are pumping out to, like Randy said, to try and build goodwill and hopefully get people to buy something later has just been astounding lately, I think.
Yeah. I saw the Salina Symphony is going to be involved with Rolling Hills Zoo, doing like shows and stuff out there. And I mean, if you can manage to pull off stuff outside, but now with winter approaching, that's going to be a little more difficult in the Midwest here. But places where it stays warm a lot, they might be able to pull that off more. easier. And I think you're going to see a lot more outdoor concerts. My daughter is in orchestra, and their first concert's outdoors, at least the first one, if not, future ones as well.
Yeah.
So
That's tough for you don't want to have a string instrument outside if it's too cold or it'll crack. So
nope. She plays cello. Yeah, that's very bad.
Well, when it comes to magazines and blogs and forums, I've tried to separate them out. But again, so many things, they merge, that they do multiple things. You might, billboards in several different places on here. And so it's just hard to say where they're going to come up. So each one of these sections, I've got a few slides down to explain more about, say under blogs, I've got Pitchfork and Hypebot. So go through and you can read more about Pitchfork there and everything else. You guys happen to have any that really stuck out to you when you're looking at that slide? Like any favorites?
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't know if you know who Ryan Upchurch is. He's from Tennessee. He's very grassroots. He's made a name for himself by doing grassroots stuff. And he has 3 or 4 Billboard #1s, and they're behind him. And he says that those mean more to him than selling 1 million records. So I found that interesting. That at somebody grassroots, though, that would make sense. Because they're getting on that Billboard chart. They're getting to #1, and to have 4 of those, that's pretty impressive.
Without signing a major record deal, he's just doing it himself.
He refuses. Matter of fact, my job, I talked to a guy from the same town and said that he is so down to earth, and when you're getting gas, he'll take a picture with you. He'll talk to you, just really good stuff. But Billboard, when you mentioned Billboard, that's really key. How they're involved in everything, but they seem to be what people look to maybe for the status quo.
So they're different from Rolling Stone in a number of ways, though.
Oh yeah.
As far as
they're kind of like they're like an industry they're kind of like Variety is to the film industry, right?
Correct.
They're kind of it's kind of an insider. People in the biz pay a lot of attention to it.
Yeah, and some of those magazines I've never heard of, but like Rolling Stone, they get too involved in politics for me. I'm not a politics music mixer type of guy. I'm not a big fan of that. So
yeah, things like the Stereo Gum, they come in different spots as far as magazines and blogs, and I hadn't really heard about them before this. But
Pitchfork has a 100-point scale that they every things can get like a 7.5 or a 9.2 or a 3 point. So they really seem to put an emphasis on making fine distinctions between different records, and so that's a very very aestheticized. It's about. They cover like alt pop and alt rock and stuff like that, but they've come in for some parody and mockery because of their approach, which is very like, have you guys seen High Fidelity, like the record store clerk in High Fidelity?
that was a while ago, yeah.
Their reviewers are kind of like that, like they've got very strong opinions about obscure records from 1990 or something. Anyway,
they deal in obscure, don't they, with Pitchfork?
Yeah, they review a lot of I think they review all of the big pop albums, but they also review a lot of indie pop and subgenres. I used to read them a lot, but then I got more into classical music to the exclusion of everything else. So,
right on. Yeah,
my
this
favorite,
Gorilla versus Bear
classic,
thing sounds really interesting.
My favorite classical blog is probably it's called Parterre. It's an opera blog, parterre.com. It's kind of it's an opera blog. It's good. So I'll throw that in.
All right. Well, so And then there's just kind of, I asked when I was planning for this class, I asked everybody on Facebook, hey, so what kind of web pages do you usually use? And so these are kind of things that people brought up about the history kind of web pages, Music Map and Soundpiper and Oxford Music Online. This one got extensive. That sucked a good afternoon out of me for the Oxford Music Online. It's huge. It's got a lot of things going on. And being Oxford, it's also got highly researched things going on. And so, and then there's fun things like thisdayinmusic.com. So where it's still talking about history, but it's more specific about one day and kind of musical events on certain days. It's fun. And there's music scores, imslp.org. That was highly recommended by a lot of different people, and it looks pretty massive.
Yeah.
Let's see, databases, Discogs, Last.fm, and AllMusic. All sorts of databases there. And then, so this is kind of the start of the part of the program where I talk about more in depth about things that the people use every day and really enjoy. Shazam is huge. 1 billion installs and counting. Help you find the name of any song in seconds. It used to be bigger, I think, in the pop culture, to where you'd be sitting there in a group and you'd hear a song and you'd load up Shazam and it would help you find out what the name of the song was and identify it. And now it's connecting up to the YouTube and TikTok and connecting other things into it. So it's getting bigger and stronger. But I feel like it's not as highly used as it used to be. It was kind of
For the song identification part, actually, anybody that has an iPhone, you can just say, and if I say out of my phone, I'll try and do it. Like, you can just say, "Hey Siri, what's this song?" And then because it's owned by Apple, as it says there, it's built right in. You don't actually have to download the app anymore to just do the song ID part.
maybe that's why it's less popular, because it's just built in. Nobody really thinks it's Shazam when they're using it. They just think of it as a service from the phone.
I use SoundHound.
Yeah.
It identifies everything I need. I keep it on my front screen so I can hit it.
So you use it quite a bit then.
I do. If I listen to the radio or I've been in a restaurant or something and they're playing a song, I'll just hit the SoundHound and just let it play. It's got to be loud enough, granted, or if I'm watching a movie and don't know what a song is, I'll hit it there too. So
Nice. Next up, Pandora. This one was big around my house, and we had it on everything around the house for quite a long time. Back when they kind of merged in with Sirius, because the car had it, and so we were subscribing to it, and so you might as well. But 2019, 63.5 million active users and 6.2 subscribers. So I guess that's the difference between using the free monthly trial versus the actually paying for it, is the 6.3 versus 6.2 million. And that's doing pretty good for a lot of people that just try it a month and then disconnect it and try it again for a month.
Well, and the free version has ads, but it's still fewer ads than you hear on the radio. So it's pretty cool. I mean, did you kind of say how it works? Basically, you can like tell it a song that you like or a genre that you like, and it'll play songs that are similar to that in some way. So like I have like Nina Simone radio that plays songs that are by Nina Simone or similar to her in terms of style.
Yeah, one of my first one was a 007 radio. And then, so of course you don't get a lot of the James Bond songs, but you get something that has kind of the jazzy feel to it. And then that was pretty nice to throw in the background. But yeah, or like my other one was like Bush. And so instead of being just Bush songs, it was very much that same decade kind of genre of music, which kind of upset me because I really just want to listen to some Bush. I just want to listen to like their albums, like 3 or 4 of them in a row. But no, I can understand where they're coming from as far as keeping it radio service instead of just a straight music service, then it's not
That's
what
why
I'm about.
I tried Pandora, but for me, it was just what you just said. Like, I want to listen to a whole album or multiple albums and then just mix them. You can't, it's just really tough to do on Pandora. So I just got burnt out quick on that. And then I went to RDIO. And of course, when they went out of business, then I went to Spotify. So.
Sound real sad about that.
Which one?
Then I went to Spotify.
I love Spotify, actually.
Well, there's the payment plans there for Pandora. And there's iHeart, which my wife really enjoys. A lot of things, you're going to hear me say that a lot because my wife enjoys music. When I'm driving back and forth to work every day, I'm the audiobook kind of guy. I like to chew through books when I'm on my drive instead of listening to music. When I listen to music, it's usually just around the wife on car trips with her. So, but yeah, 250,000 podcasts. I do enjoy a good podcast. But they just keep getting bigger, don't they? They bring in more radio stations all the time.
Yeah, and this is an app that you can, like, if you want to listen to, I don't know, like KF, like, I don't know if, I mean, all the iHearts, the stage, they own a bunch of radio stations, right? So any of these 850 radio stations you can listen to streaming on this. So if you want to listen to your hometown radio station while you're traveling, you could do it.
Yep.
Nice.
Getting bigger all the time. But it is just listening to radio, and it's not just tuning in radio, which would use very little battery life. It's actually still an online data service, so you're still using data like crazy. But
yeah.
But most cell phones also do have the ability to bring in radio stations.
What was that? I guess. Yeah, I don't. That's right. Okay. I guess iPhones don't. I don't think they do, but I think that Android phones, a lot of them do have an FM receiver built in.
But there's pretty low charges for iHeartRadio, which, I mean, is good because you could just turn on your car radio. And also, you don't have any control, really, over the type of music that's playing.
Did you find any stats like how many people are subscribed to iHeartRadio?
I hear this app advertised on the radio a lot, actually.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't look like I got any actual number of users.
Be interesting to know how many people just would rather not turn their radio on and just have that on instead.
And use their data service.
Yep.
Well, more and more people have unlimited data plans of one stripe or another, so.
Yeah. With Sprint T-Mobile merged here recently. And so, yeah, more and more of those kind of services. Well, now we're on to Spotify, the Swedish. And so it's quite obviously I pulled this straight from a Wikipedia article. A lot of these I did, but I always have the links in there. But offers DRM restricted music and podcasts recorded from the media companies. Otherwise known as freemium service.
Mm-hmm.
But 2008, 60 million songs. Looks like in 2020, 299 million monthly active users, 139 million paying subscribers. So that's quite a few people doing the free service versus the paid service. But I think somewhere there's the paid, you got $10 compared to like iHeart, where it's like $5 for just the basic.
I have the family one. I find it worth it so that all my kids can just be on there too.
And it looks like it blocks explicit music if you want it to. So that's nice.
Yeah, you have a lot of options on there. So
Kid specific one. And that's pretty key right there if you're going to have a family plan.
Yeah, the student one's a good deal for anybody who's in college,
Yeah, $5.
I would say that like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, they all offer at this point like this, like 60 million whatever tracks, which
Yeah.
means that basically anything you can think of you can find. So in that sense, they're kind of interchangeable. And I've actually kind of strung together free trials on different ones, like Amazon Music, and then I cancel, and then I get Apple Music and cancel, and then get Spotify and cancel, and because I'm a cheapskate. But basically by the time I had like 6 or 7 months of these free streaming services just by using up all the free trials on offer.
Yeah, and it's good to try different things, especially if you're going to find yourself getting suckered in by me to be on one of these classes discussing this sort of thing, huh?
Well,
So
I listen to all my podcasts on Spotify now too.
mm,
Everything has moved over there. Like all the stuff from Daily Wire used to be on SoundCloud. Now I can get it on here, so I don't have to worry about SoundCloud and Spotify. I can just pick with one.
I used to do all my music through, or my podcast through Google Play Music, but recently they've changed it over to be like a YouTube live music / separate app for the podcast. So Google Podcasts is separate now. It works okay, but the YouTube part, instead of Google Play Music, YouTube still closes when you try and open anything else unless you pay for the service, and so that's been a real bummer compared to Google Play Music. But on Spotify, the reason that I finally got suckered in, well, besides doing this class to it, Spotify, was because I liked the idea of people that made playlists based on favorite books. And so I had been recently reading the Ballad of Snakes and Songbirds, the prequel thing to the Hunger Games. And they had some songs on there that weren't necessary, because in the book they sing certain songs. They're part of a song. That's how they sustain themselves as a song group. But they didn't have a lot of those songs, but they had songs that really meshed in well with, as far as the book. So it felt like it was authentic, but it wasn't actually the actual lyrics performed music, which is a little disappointing, because when I listened to the audiobook, the guy that was doing the audiobook is not a singer at all. So he kind of just read the words of the songs as it went through, kind of like when you listen to Lord of the Rings. They kind of read the words instead of sing them, which kind of hurts the plot if you're looking for good songs. But so song lists that go along with your favorite audiobooks and novels. It's pretty fun. Ready Player One had a lot of music to it too, and so they had a lot of those on a playlist. Anybody else tinker around with audiobooks, playlists based on books?
I haven't done that, but I would just say in general, I think Spotify is probably the leader in terms of the huge number of playlists that they've made, that users have made, that their algorithms have generated. That's a big thing with them. So I would say that, like, if you're somebody that just likes to listen to albums and you know what album you're trying to find, then there's not much to distinguish Spotify from Amazon. Like I said, they're basically just their commodity is just access to these catalogs. But yeah, I think that part of why Spotify is so popular is that, number one, they were kind of the first to be this like galactic jukebox where you can find any song that you can imagine. They were kind of the first to do that, legally anyway. And then the other advantage they have is all these playlists.
Yeah, very good. I kind of mentioned earlier about Google Play Music is now turning into YouTube Music, and my major downfall was the fact that you have to pay, or else YouTube Music doesn't play in the background, which is really annoying for me. But it sounds like that's the way they're going to move. But the Google Play podcast was pretty good. It had everybody that I was used to. I mentioned earlier Amazon Prime Music. Used to be Amazon MP3, streaming online music store operated by Amazon. Started in 2007. It's got different variable size MP3 formats. When you purchase them, you can get higher quality songs. 55 million users. So,
Mm.
and
And if
there's
you're on, yeah, Prime, you got it there. Yeah, Prime Music. If you have Prime, then you've got the limited selection of songs that are free with that. Yeah.
and by limited I mean 2 million songs. That's slightly more than what I downloaded from Napster back in the day. So, which for all legal purposes, I don't have those anymore. That's in the past.
LimeWire.
LimeWire.
Oh no.
But yeah. So there's Amazon Prime and Amazon Music. So you've got the higher definition playback and different devices. And Alexa's on both of them.
Hmm.
BandCamp. This one, Randy. BandCamp. What do you want to tell us about BandCamp?
Well, I mean, it's really for artists to feature, although I don't know if it's how long it can withstand, because with Spotify being the same thing, I mean, I had to buy a couple albums and they were on Bandcamp, but then I found them on Spotify, and I'm like, well, why did I spend money in Bandcamp? Because I know they're not going to get probably as much from them, but I don't know. Did it say how many bands were featured on here or anything?
Let's see.
I'm just curious. I mean, with Facebook being so big, it's like I just don't see Bandcamp as being so prevalent anymore. I mean, Facebook is just until it becomes a pay for service, you're not gonna get away from Facebook, I don't think, as being the leader in stuff like this.
As far as ways to get your small band's name out,
Yeah, I mean, Facebook's the way to go. I mean,
that's where the people are.
that's where I find all my stuff. I mean, I just find it I just don't like going to Bandcamp. But I mean, it does work. It's worked for a lot of bands, and a lot of people have gotten their boost that way. So you can't knock it. But I just wonder if it can survive in the world we live in now.
In the post-COVID world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how. I mean, are you guys familiar with Patreon?
Yes.
I haven't looked at musicians specifically on Patreon. I wonder if more and more are going to move to that kind of patronage model where, in addition to like your fans pay you not just for MP3s or CDs, but also for like the opportunity to chat with you or exclusive rehearsal tracks or, stuff like that, like to have to enhance that fan relationship by supporting them monetarily in a variety of different ways.
Actually, I was going to pull something up here to take a look. So Five Iron Frenzy is doing a Kickstarter right now, and it's massive. It's ludicrous how much they've raised in 11 days.
Didn't they do that for the last album too?
They did. But this one is, I'll reread it right here. So 20 days to go. Their goal was $60,000. They're at $193,941.
Oh.
That is ridiculous.
Scott.
That right there, it tells you that you just said Patreon. This is the same thing where you're paying, like some of their things you get to do, you get to like go hang out at one of their houses and have a barbecue. So that's the same thing. And the Kickstarter, that's been around for a while. Kickstarters, GoFundMe's. The Kickstarter's more, I used to be a pledge one too, but I can't. Pledge Music or something that they used to do. But the Kickstarter, I mean, obviously works for a band that's been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite 30. Close.
Gotta be getting there.
I I mean, they've been around a long time, and to be able to, I mean, you're at almost at $200,000 in what we call a pandemic. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of beans and bullets in this time.
And I wonder if COVID, this COVID-19 is gonna, because in the classical music world that I follow pretty closely, like the biggest talent agency in the classical music world, Creative Artists, went bankrupt and went out of business. Which all those artists that were kind of in this, major label, big agency, and were just making their money, and they had professional management and stuff. They're still stars, but they're kind of being thrown to their own devices to try and figure out how to make their living.
Well, and most bands, in the band world, not necessarily the same classical world, but you see a lot of them like to go grassroots anyway. And it's perfect for this because there's not many record labels left anymore. Very few. Capitol, there's a few, I'm sure, all those regular artists, but a lot of these people are just doing their own thing now. They do the quick Kickstarter. They get $40,000. They produce an album that rocks. They go on tour. I mean, the money is made when you meet the people. That's what, and then everything goes on streaming services. So, yeah, I think a lot of people were prepped for this. They didn't know it was coming, but a lot of people already were ready for this.
It's just another example where I walked into work at, on the first day when we decided to go back to work after COVID. And I was like, 5-10 years ago, this wouldn't have worked. There's so many things that we could do now that we've been set up for just a little bit, that just this world would have come to a screeching halt just 5-10 years ago, that now we're finding ways to get around it. It's just pretty darn handy. It's pretty timely. So, SoundCloud, it's kind of right there as far as distribution, music sharing website, kind of a Berlin, Germany kind of thing. But got 3 hours of any type of audio for free, and there's a lot of apparently it is a fabulous place for mumble rap artists to start out from, as far as what they're famous for. Apparently is being on SoundCloud first.
Really?
Yeah, I guess like Chance the Rapper, you hear about, I guess especially in hip hop, you hear about artists that they go from nobody knows who they are, and they record a hip hop track in their garage and put it out on SoundCloud, and suddenly they've got, like you said, a Billboard charting hip hop hit, totally bypassing the music industry that way. The legacy music industry.
And apparently a big part of it is because of the YouTube link, to where they're famous for their videos almost more than they are for their actual music. So,
and I guess that's a way to, so like if you're a musician yourself, and you want to get on, and you want your tracks to be on Spotify where anybody can get them, I guess it says there you can do it through SoundCloud. They'll help you with that, I guess, to get distribution to Spotify and Apple Music. I'd never really thought about how like a grassroots artist would go about doing that, but I guess that's the way, or a way. I'm sure there's more.
Yeah, get on to SoundCloud and Apple Music and YouTube, and kind of keep it all together in one place. Help them manage their career a little bit. Well, they got the Pro, and it's really $12 a month. I mean, that's not horrible. That's pretty easy to do for most groups. Peer-to-peer music sharing. So this is back there when I was talking about Napster and LimeWire. So this is kind of when you're person-to-person, peer-to-peer, BitTorrent,
This still exists.
where
I mean,
legality is not necessarily best served through these services. But no, Napster is still around, but they're not what they used to be. They're not music sharing anymore. It's more of a talking community kind of a discussion thing.
I kind of feel like, why would you bother to pirate anymore when you can get any song ever for a few bucks a month? But I'm sure, like, probably if people, maybe people like want super high def track, like the lossless tracks or something, maybe there would be a reason to do P2P for that, or people that
or if they're still jogging with MP3 players and can't
yeah.
stream,
But
have
we don't
online.
endorse piracy, of course.
Of course not.
Yeah.
But like, what I don't get is, like several bands, let's use Tool as an example. They just got their stuff put on Spotify. I mean, we're talking within the last 6 months. And you got to wonder, like, why did Metallica throw such a big fit? Because they were so big is why it was. They were, because I saw the band Linkin Park, and I had ripped Hybrid Theory off of Napster, the original Hybrid Theory, not the new one, the original. And I went backstage and I got to talk to them. I was talking to Chester and the guitar player, and they said, "We love Napster. We love the fact that you found us on Napster," because they would not have had as big a fan had I not got that. I mean, bands that weren't already established, that had that path paved for them, Napster paved a path for a lot of bands. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, it's illegal, but it paved the path for a lot of bands. So,
Yeah. And there's like BitTorrent, to where, so earlier they were able to shut down the Napster servers because they were hosting the names and where everything was shared. But BitTorrent is not necessarily hosted in one spot, so it's harder to shut down. So all sorts of different ways to do the peer versus peer. So here's some other music clever websites: Monkyon and Operavision. Operavision is amazing. I think that was actually your words, wasn't it, Sam?
Oh yeah, Operavision is yeah, and like we've been talking, like we were saying earlier, all the opera companies, primarily in Europe on Operavision, but in America too, all the opera companies have been putting out huge quantities of their catalog of videos and audio that they've amassed, just to try and maintain goodwill for the time when people can come back. So it's been totally overwhelming. It's like, they post like, "Ooh, I want to watch that. Ooh, I want to watch that." But, I don't have 20 hours a week to spend watching all the free opera videos that people are posting. So but I've seen some amazing stuff. And Operavision existed before COVID-19, and I'm sure it'll continue after. Basically, they post like one new opera per month, and each one stays up for like 4 to 6 months on the service. So it's pretty cool, and it kind of belies the idea that like opera is inaccessible and you have to be wealthy to ever experience it. No, you can just, and it's, the videos themselves are on YouTube, which makes it really easy to stream it to your TV if you've got a smart TV, and you can just try it out, and there's subtitles if it's not in English. So
that'll help. That and the fact that I don't have to rent the tux for it, that'll be nice.
no, you can wear a tux if you want, though.
You just sit around the house to wear tux?
Yeah, why not?
James Bond. And then we got radio.com, and then there's sheet music. Newton Public Library, we've got it was a blog post. We were talking about sheet music websites, and gee, look at that right there. We know that guy.
Yeah, I pulled this together. Just if you're a choir director, or you just looking for some piano music to play or some guitar tab, check this stuff out. There's a huge amount of free sheet music you can download and print off. So this, if you're a musician yourself, there's probably something you can use here. It's pretty cool, and most of it's public domain stuff that's totally free.
Yeah, just that one right there, 2100. Nice.
Yes.
IMSLP is the biggie, but the others are good too.
MSLP.
Mhm.
Let's see. Then Amoeba, largest independently owned record store. So, and when we're talking about music events around here, at least, apparently Select a Seat has most of the Wichita events. There's Ticketmaster and then StubHub. Are there, you have any good, bad experiences with any of those?
Oh, we love these companies. Don't they have, the public just adores StubHub and Ticketmaster, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's what we'll say. I mean, the fees that go along with them, I think, are the killer. I mean, like I remember going to watch Ozzy Osbourne. I paid $16 when in 1992, and there was no extra. I went to the box office at the Kansas Coliseum, got the ticket with my grandparents, and you just went up and paid cash, $16. There was no, oh, we have a fee to click it and hand it to you. There was none of those fees, but now they're just loaded with fees.
and I think that for some of like you, like even if like if there's a concert at Intrust Bank Arena that's not sold out, and you just walk up to the box office the day of the concert and buy a ticket, I think there's still something that's marked as a fee that's going to. I
There
think
is.
yeah. So I think that rubs people the wrong way, but I mean, it's
Absolutely.
just, there's nothing we can really do about that, I guess.
But I think COVID is going to change that, because I've heard that there were tons of tickets left for tonight's Chiefs game, and the prices were coming down because people aren't going to pay a lot of money to sit 16 feet away from somebody and not be able to yell, because you have to wear a mask outside. I'm like, come on. I mean, this is going to change everything. It's going to be very interesting the next time they open Intrust Arena for an event to see what they do and to see how they limit that. They probably have it easier though if you're given tickets to numbered chairs, you can probably pick and choose through your computer, maybe.
Well, I'm hoping that, whether it's 6 months from now, or whether it's a year from now or whatever, that at some point the virus threat will that we'll be able to go back to normal, basically. You've got to hope that.
I hope, but I'm not expecting that.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to bank my living on it, like
Right.
some of these people are.
And I know I've got friends that are in the music field, and I think that, a lot of them are kind of, they're about to have to look for a plan B and drop out of the music business, at least for now. So that's a shame. A lot of people's dreams are getting crushed, or at least set back. So,
well, and you see the bands that are trying to make it during this time are doing like the band that was releasing their album tonight online. They released a song like every 2 weeks on Friday. They can do that now with the live stream stuff. You have that ability to drop a song at a time, and because you're not getting radio play, so you might as well just do it one song at a time on Spotify and iTunes and wherever else, and just rock it out.
Made each song a special event, huh?
Yeah. I mean, and then what they did is they released like 4 of their songs, and now the other 6 you'll get to hear tonight. And then, I mean, that's, like you said, there's a lot of people looking for plan B. And the way you put that is correct. They're at the end of the rope now, waiting to see if this is going to go away and they're going to have the opportunity to continue in music, or if this is the end. And sadly, I think we're going to see a lot come to an end.
Speaking of coming to the end, as well with my presentation, the views and opinions are ours, not necessarily that of public library. come see us on our Facebook and give us a call if you disagree or agree or want to talk more. Let us hear from you. Randy, you have any last words for us as we close out?
Support as many artists as you can. Just listen to music. Let it be your therapy.
Yeah. All right. I'll sign us off. Great wise words. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.